Hello, thank you for watching this video on the 2022 Neighborhood Economic Development, or NED, grant program. I am Joshua Roland, a Senior Program Coordinator in the Community Development Division, which is part of the City of Pittsburgh's Office of Management and Budget. I wanted to include this link that you see on the slide at the beginning of this presentation because it has so much information about the 2022 NED grant program. Here's the agenda for this presentation. We will go over 3 questions to help organizations understand the 2022 NED process. First question is, what is the NED grant? Then, is my project eligible? And what is the NED application process? There will be new information for every applicant, including organizations that have received NED funding in the past. By the end of this presentation, your organization will know if this NED grant is right for your project, and also just an overview on how to apply for these funds. For the first section, what is the NED grant? First, let me explain where this money comes from. The NED grant comes from the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, program, a federal program subject to federal rules. The CDBG program is administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The city is limited by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's rules and regulations on how to spend CDBG funds. Program coordinators like myself make sure that the city and all the organizations we fund follow those rules. Sometimes the rules we enforce can seem overly onerous or confusing, but often the city is limited to follow these rules passed down from the government. I want to make it clear that the community development team is here as a resource to help your organization navigate the different federal and city rules that regulate the NED program. Now let's talk about the NED grant. The NED grant program, formerly called ACBO, started in 1989. City Council allocated money to make the grant after community development corporations called on the city to support their economic development projects to preserve business districts and prevent vacancies in their neighborhoods. Today, community organizations still leverage these funds in lower income communities to rehabilitate housing, revitalize business districts, and stabilize communities. For 2022, City Council has allocated $500,000 to organizations through the NED grant. There are 2 types of NED grants, General NED and Capacity Building NED. The Capacity Building Award was added last year to provide more opportunities for smaller organizations seeking to grow their impact. For organizations that have applied for this funding in the past, the General NED will seem familiar. Most of the organizations awarded NED funds will be awarded the General Award for up to $40,000. One organization will be selected for a $50,000 capacity building grant. Even though there are 2 award levels, there is only 1 application. The capacity building grant is for smaller organizations engaging in economic development in their communities. Specifically, this grant is for organizations that spend less than $75,000 and earn less than $75,000 in a year. The organization awarded this grant will receive up to $50,000 per year for 4 years as long as they meet program milestones. Only 1 organization will receive this award in 2022. To be considered for the capacity building grant, applicants will need to answer a few additional questions on the 2022 NED application. Even if an organization is not awarded the capacity building grant, they will automatically be considered for the General NED grant for up to $40,000. The applicant that receives the capacity building grant will not be eligible to also receive the General NED grant. Now that you know what the grant is, I wanted to quickly review how organizations will access this funding if they are awarded. This is a broad overview of the process, taking out a lot of details. First, your organization will be notified by the Office of Management and Budget's Community Development Division of your award. Then, your organization will need to submit some documentation so that we can make a grant agreement. After the contract is signed, your organization will need to show invoices or receipts to the city, and we will reimburse those expenses. This is a process that can take months even after your organization is notified of the grant award. I don't want to intimidate anyone from applying, but I do want first-time applicants to be aware of the amount of time and effort it can take if your organization is awarded. Next section, is my project eligible? The first thing we'll review in your application is if your organization is eligible. Here is a list of criteria your organization must meet to receive funding. Generally, organizations that are current with their 501c3 nonprofit status and have a mission to serve Pittsburgh residents will be eligible for funding. A criteria that may be new this year is having a unique entity ID assigned from sam.gov. I'll talk about this more in the next slide. All organizations receiving NED funding must have a unique entity ID, or UEI. This is a 12-character ID containing numbers and letters assigned by sam.gov. Just so you know, you do not need to complete the full sam.gov registration to receive a UEI, but your organization does need to create a profile on sam.gov. If you have applied to our office for funds in the past, we used to require a DUNS number. We no longer require a DUNS number, but you do have to submit a UEI. On the NED grant webpage, there is a guide to getting this UEI number. I recommend that your organization starts as soon as possible because there have been delays in the past. Now for project eligibility. Here is a list of all of the different types of projects that are eligible for NED funding. This list has changed from last year. From this list, you can see that projects working with real estate, including rehabbing buildings or developing affordable housing, are eligible, as well as small business support and eviction prevention. Finally, your project must support low and moderate income communities. This is a requirement of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Most organizations achieve this by serving census tracts where 51% of the residents have low or moderate incomes. Here is a map of eligible low and moderate income census tracts. The blue census tracts are ones that qualify. To see a larger, more interactive version of this map, you can follow the link at the bottom of this slide. Here is an overview of the NED application process. As I review the application process, I'll be talking about both the general and capacity building awards. If your project is eligible, your organization will be invited to present in front of the NED Advisory Committee. This committee scores applications and sends their recommendations to City Council, who makes the final determination on who gets NED funding. The NED Advisory Committee will be using a scoring sheet to determine which organizations to fund. The scoring sheet consists of 6 criteria that are based on the organization's application and interview, and 1 criteria based on neighborhood demographics. The scoring rubric is available on the NED application webpage. Now for an overview on the application. This year, the NED application is only available on the webpage. All applications must be submitted by August 26th. There are attachments required for this application. At the end of this application, there's an upload button to attach your organization's most recent tax return. After you complete the application, all you will need to do is click Submit. Our system will automatically email you a copy of your application. Please note that the application webpage will not save incomplete progress. If you want to save your progress, there will be a link to a Word document with application questions. If you still have more questions about the process, sign up for one of our question and answer sessions. I'm going to be available for applicants looking for more information. The first session, or August 26th, will start with questions from capacity building applicants. But afterwards, general NED applicants can ask their questions. Here's the current timeline for the application process. It may change slightly, but last year we were able to stay on track. As I said before, the application is due August 26th, and we expect to notify awarded organizations in November. Here is my contact information and a link to the 2022 NED grant webpage. This is the hub for all the information on the NED grant. Finally, thank you for listening to this presentation, and thank you for caring about your neighborhood. Whether you're a seasoned professional in community development or a group of neighbors, we appreciate your efforts to make Pittsburgh a better place.